I'm Bruce Fummey, and today I'm going to do something that I've never done before. That's right, I'm going to Highland Games with all the sights and sounds and experiences. Now, obviously I've been at a Highland Games before, but I've never been to one in Canada. Now, I'm no plastic Canadian jock. You can imagine how well that line went down in Cape Breton. And for those of you that have got a wee bit of racism that you feel needs scratching because it's itching, and you're saying, but Bruce, you're African, I say, Ghanaian, get it right, shut it. Anyway, I've been to many Highland Games in my wee village back home in Perthshire, but I thought we'd come to a big Highland Games in Ontario, Canada to find out the difference. So, if you're interested in the people, places and events in Scottish history, then click the subscribe button at the bottom right of the screen and give me a thumbs up at the end if you've enjoyed the video. That's what tells YouTube to get other people watching. In the meantime, let me tell you a story. Back home in my village in Perthshire, the Highland Games is the biggest event of the annual calendar. People come from miles around, folk have barbecues and invite friends into the village. People from neighbouring villages come round to meet each other and all that kind of thing. The pubs, the one pub that's left, is full, and of course from time to time the young team will have a fight with the neighbouring village. It's the way things are done. Anyway, it starts with the chieftain marching through in front of a pipe band up the village street, the main street of the village, and then into the games park. And in there, obviously, they have the big guys throwing and lifting things, the wee lassies doing a dance, and you'll have people running and competing. Sometimes there's a big event, like you'll have like the army coming down in parachutes, or for that matter, once there was a guy, a sprinter, who raced a car. What are the chances? All that stuff happens in the oval in the middle, and generally speaking, we walk round the outside. Obviously the people that are there to support the competitors will be sitting on the outside, but the other locals will walk round the outside. You'll meet up with folk that you might have not seen for a while from neighbouring villages. You might not have seen them for months or whatever, and of course you have to have a chat, because you'll be fighting with them later. And it all makes for a fantastic afternoon. I thought, let's see what it's like in Ontario. Is it any different? I'll be honest, back home, I spend the afternoon in the beer tent. Let's see how that goes here. Here, there's no chieftain marching in front of a pipe band up the village main street, but there are loads more pipe bands. 28 in all. That's mental compared to our wee village, and it makes for quite a spectacle. And the weight of a tug-of-war team pulling on the heartstrings as you hear the pipes calling in the opening and closing ceremonies. Of course, Chieftain George Coquette did give an introduction in the opening ceremony, as did some local politicians and heed bummers. And of course, a wee thank you for the workers who do all the background heavy lifting. Another tick in the checklist of similarities to home were the cutest wee bairns in their Highland dancing. As she approaches retiral, my missus tells me about when she was a wee lassie in Fraserburgh. She'd toured the competitions, dancing at Highland Games back in the day, and I just love to see that across the water there's still another generation continuing those traditions an ocean away. So, were there friendly hellos and how are yous as I wandered round the park? Yes. In fact, probably more than back home. But then again, I did have the excuse of being the Honorary Chieftain.
Please welcome to the field your Honorary Chieftain, Bruce Fummey!
Now the chieftain said, just come along and you can be our honorary guest. And I said, what do I do? They said, just give 2 minutes and tell them who you are. because they won't know who you are. So clearly I'm also a mystery guest as well as an honorary guest. I'll be honest, the only reason I turned up was because they told me that the Minister for Employment, Immigration, Training and Skills was going to be here, and I was looking for a job, So if you feel free to come up and say hello to me, but essentially my job is, I don't, have I got to fill in a bit of time? How much time have I got to fill in? 2 more minutes. I can do 30 seconds without swearing. How about that? Right. No, I was saying Scots built the modern world. We did. Because Scots invented everything, didn't they? Scots gave the world the telephone, and I know you Canadians tried to nick it, but we gave the world the telephone. We gave the world the television, tarmac roads. We gave the world penicillin. Okay, we gave them venereal disease in the first place, but that's not the point. Every development in science and engineering, it was a Scotsman that did it, let me tell you. Originally they said, you've got 2 minutes to tell them about yourself. And then as the time lagged, right, they said, you've got 3 minutes to tell them about you. You've got 4 minutes to tell them about you. Could you talk for half an hour? Could you do that? And I said no, because originally they said to me, basically I'm here to bring you greetings from Scotland. And if any of you saw the football yesterday, you'll know everyone in Scotland's greeting. Now if you understood that joke, that'll differentiate whether you're Scottish or Canadian, right? If you understood that, you're Scottish. If no, you can go to those clan tents all day. It doesn't make any difference, right? Anyway, it's a delight to be here in the Hope Placey. Was it? Port Hope. Port Hope. It's a delight to be here in Port Hope. And I hope you get rid of your nuclear disaster soon, all right? Come and say hello during the day. Thank you very much.
So it was me who declared the Highland Games
open to the beer tent!
I don't know if they thought I was offering free drinks, but loads of folks did come and chat. Canadians are the friendliest people that I've come across. And indeed, some of them were from back home in Perthshire. For all the competitions and pageantry, I think the real heart of Highland Games, whether in my wee village or across an ocean, is the connections and friendly chat with folks that make you feel like home, even if they moved overseas long ago. Sometimes, all that it takes is to overhear an accent that sounds familiar to strike up a conversation. Others I had a connection with because they watched this channel, and it was wonderful to get the chance to chat. In particular, what a treat to bump into one of my Patreon members, Ryan Kearney, who was competing in the piping. I had a right good chat with him. Now, in case you don't know, the trip to Canada is funded by the ticket sales for the live shows that I do as I travel across the country. But making these videos week in, week out throughout the year only happens because of the generosity of Patreon members like Ryan. It's because of the support and kindness of folks like him that there are no adverts selling VPN solutions or video games or cable channel magic carpets. So if you are able to help support the channel like Ryan, please click the link top right to become a Patreon member and get some of the additional benefits that come from that. Now, I said that back home in Blackford, the Games have lots of folks from the village and surrounds. But here, folks have come from far and wide across Ontario. Whether it's folks with stalls or vendors or visitors in general, it feels like folks have congregated from the more dispersed diaspora of Scots and descendants from across Ontario. Less a geographical community than a community of Scottish interests coming together. Anyway, there were loads of friendly folks around. Did I ever tell you how friendly Canadians were? They're a bit like Glaswegians, but without the flick knives. Spoiler alert, there was no fight in the pub later. The other thing they didn't have was a tug of war. Where's the tug of war between the two groups of blokes from the village? That's a staple at our Highland Games. What they did have here that I haven't noticed at my home Highland Games was piping competitions between the 28 bands gathered together for ferocious puffing and furious fingering contests, drone checking and team practice. It's one thing that a bigger festival like this has over a smaller community event. But there was something exotic to come.
Now, here's another thing that's different about the Highland Games here in Ontario compared to the Highland Games that I go to in my village back home. I'm wearing a kilt! You'd never see that back home. Now, here's another thing that you would never see back home at my village Highland Games. A clan alley. You've got a whole alley of different clans and stuff. Now, what the hell's going on here? To find out, I'm going to introduce you to William Petrie. Come and meet him. Right, come and meet William here. How you doing, William?
Very good, Bruce.
Nice to meet you.
My pleasure too.
Now, this is a new thing for me. It's a new experience for me. Tell me, what are you doing here? What's going on?
Well, we are Clans and Scottish Societies of Canada. We've been around since about the late 70s. And for the most part, what we were doing was just letting the clans and family organizations get together. But post-COVID, actually it started around 2019 when I began with it, what we did was we said, let's get out and do much more in terms of representation for our members. And so what we have is we have about 98 organizations that we represent, and we promote them at events like this. So we put up large banners, and you can see the crowd is just here picking up information.
Yeah.
We got a QR code that they can click through.
It is busy.
Yeah,
it is busy.
It's constantly busy, and people click through, and we get members for organizations, or we let them find out about games. They know the things that are going on with it, and that's what we're doing because our mandate is to promote Scottish culture and history, heritage anywhere in the world, and especially here in Canada.
Yeah,
that's what we do.
So who do you get that mandate from?
Well, that was our charter when we formed as a federally chartered non-profit charity. So we are a national organization. We are regulated in terms of being a charity, in terms of being a charter, and in terms of being a non-charity. And what we do is what's our stated objectives and mandate is in our bylaws.
So you're putting Canadians back in touch with our Scottish heart.
That is the whole point. Now, one of our big challenges is that we only represent organizations at this point. And I have a lot of people that have come through and I do their research to look up their name and it turns out they're not associated with a clan or a family. So what we're doing is we're moving to accept individual and family memberships, grow our membership immensely, and have it so that everybody of Scottish heritage can be part of our organizations, and we'll set them up in chapters and get them into these kind of organizations. And there's about 6 million Canadians of Scottish heritage.
Yeah.
And as in Scotland, most of them are not in clans or families.
Yeah, it's
so
not a big
I
thing.
Take care of them.
It's not really a thing. That's the thing. You would never. I don't remember seeing something like this back home. It is a North American. That whole clan thing feels like a North American thing.
Well,
yeah.
it's you know there's the basic beliefs, the basic needs for people. You want to belong, you want to be useful, you want to have love, and you want to have a hope for some kind of future. Well, we're going to cover the belonging part, and maybe some of the hope for the future, because there's going to be things for them, and we're going to give the proper recognition to what is the heritage that we brought to Canada. We built this country. You know that. You said that. We built this nation. And even though times when we've tried to do things, we've been told, well, we don't need to help you anything because you were a founding nation. Well, no, that's not the case. You know, we're another culture and another thing that needs to have, that people need to belong to, that people need to be proud of. and that's what we're doing.
And I'm glad you're here to do it, William. Thank you very much. All the time that I preach the gospel in Scotland and Scotland history tours, there are evangelists like this in Canada. What a fantastic treat to meet him here at the Scots and Canada Clans and Societies of Canada tent. Let's see what else is going on. What else is going on is Sheena's shortbread tent. That's worth a stop. Followed by a chat with the good folks of the Clan Farquharson tent. Bumping into more viewers of the channels like meeting up with an old friend. Only I didn't owe this bloke a tenner from 1998. Of course, the thing that many are here to see are the heavyweights. Now, these guys have come from far and wide, including south of the border in the US of A, from as far away as California and Colorado. This is the historical essence of the Highland Games. The individual events started last night with putting the stone, and it was a belter of a stone. Stone lifts with an even bigger stone. Heave! Okay, not this time. What about this time? No, that one's a big stone. Can this bloke do it? Damn it! Now that is impressive. They've also got Atlas stones, like it might look like a World's Strongest Man tournament, whose reigning champion is a Scotsman, by the way. But there's also lassies showing that they're not to be ignored. Oh, you want to see the feats that some of these wee lassies get up to. Great competitors. Not just in the stone lifting, but in the farmer's walk. Well, maybe the farmer's wife's walk. And that pride and joy of a huge achievement. What a wonderful moment. Of course, on a big day, we had the more standard events that you'll see in our wee Highland Games back home. The explosive strength to throw the weight over the bar. The more technical tossing the hammer, where starting the movement, then building up momentum as with each turn our hero builds up a centripetal force before launching the wooden shaft into the air in the wake of that 22-pound hammer seeking the winning distance. But of course, the crown jewel of any Highland Games is the caber toss. Now, in case you don't know, the idea is that you lift the caber. Now, given that most of the weight's way above your head, that in itself's no easy feat. I had a go at this at the Games in Australia last year, and let me tell you, it's murder polis. Then, you build up a head of steam to get it to land at 12 o'clock after tossing it end over end. Or just letting it flop to the ground. The truth is that most common outcomes is failure. Sometimes it's fumble and tumble. And then failure again. And then nearly. And then one more time and damn it. Come on, you can do it. Lift, balance, steady. Now to try and get it moving. Can't afford to lose balance. Keep your balance. Oh, and launch! Up and over at 12 o'clock, you dancer! Not quite 12 o'clock, but definitely the winning throw of the day. There'll be prizes to be handed out. But of course, we've still got the closing ceremony in the parade park. And I'm going to let you enjoy that for just a second. What a sight to see the 28 competing groups of the day gathered together in the march of the massed bands. Trophies to be handed out for the winning bands of the different classes as the hard work pays off. And these guys will go on to compete against each other in other games throughout Ontario over the summer.
But the piping's not quite finished for the day until we've had a celebratory impromptu in the beer tent afterwards. Of course, eventually the time comes to lay the pipes down and pick up a glass. Aye, I'm glad these boys are better at piping than they are at singing. Friendly Canadian chit-chat into the night. And here's a thing that's a little bit different from home. Ceilidh bands that not only mix in Irish with the Scottish music, but throw in a bit of country and western to boot. Was Johnny Cash Scottish?
So, what have we learned at the Northumberland Highland Games? First of all, there's been an incredible pipe band competition that probably wouldn't have happened in my own village, and some incredible pipe bands. Also, while the Highland Games in our village is a community that comes together locally, this event happens because the people of the wider Celtic interest community comes from much further afield in Ontario. Also, it has to be said that it keeps a little bit of Scottish culture alive, if with a funny accent, and certainly the Canadian reputation for friendliness and hospitality hasn't been damaged at all today. And best of all, they've got a beer tent as well. Now, I've also been to Highland Games in Australia, and if you want to see that, there's a video coming up on screen now. Support the channel by clicking top right to become a Patreon member, or buy me a coffee in the description below. In the meantime, ha mi an dóchas go bí lá má live. Cheers and drasta.